Big night.
What the fuck does that mean?
It means that you're wearing sunglasses inside and drinking Red Bull and clearly grumpy.
I didn't realize you were a fucking detective.
Yeah, okay. There's a strong energy coming through today.
No, it's just interesting. Where did you go to detective school?
God. Is this let me just mentally prepare myself for another 80 minutes of this. Okay, just
Yeah,
finding
good.
finding a sort of internal zone of peace and happiness, bringing some of my
Let me know.
meditation training.
Let me know when you
Okay,
get there.
Michael, let's do
Hey, let's
this.
do this. Some days you just gotta pick a character. You
Okay.
know.
Yeah,
Some
you pick.
days you just be like, I'm gonna be the grumpy guy today, and you just
Yeah,
really lean into it.
it's weird because you tend to pick that guy a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that's when it gets tricky when you're a method actor like I am in life. It's very difficult to know where the acting ends and the real me begins.
Yeah. I mean, maybe internally, but certainly to an outsider, it's pretty apparent. It's
Pretty
pretty
clear.
easy
All
to
right.
spot. Yeah. But I'm so glad
Okay.
that fucking Joaquin Zabrecki could be here today.
Oh, I'm the Daniel Day Lewis of life.
You are. You are.
I don't even know what that means.
You're just completely immersed in method acting. You're living it like it's real.
Yeah. Do you think you? I'll take these off.
Okay. Only if you want
Um,
to.
do you feel like you put on a persona in your day to day? What kind of characters do you play,
Well,
Nick?
it's an interesting question. I would say no, but that might be situational because I don't have to go out and interact with the real world very much. So I don't have
Yeah.
to be anyone else. I can just be live at home Nick, the real me, that wears tracksuits
Yeah.
around the house and doesn't speak to anyone me. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's okay.
I think there are certain contexts where, like when you're out at a party or whatever, I will be maybe more sociable, and I wouldn't
Which
say
is
that
not the
that's a
real you.
performance, but like it's a mode maybe, where
It's a
like I can
gear.
flick into
Okay.
that gear and be like, oh, so what do you do? Oh wow, you're a a waste disposal technician. Tell me about sewage pipes. Like where do they go? And
That was
that's
a real
not.
that was a real situation, wasn't it? That
No,
was
but
too
it,
specific.
it was it was a plausible hypothetical, but there was no one in particular I know. But I like that's not disingenuous, but it is definitely like, does normal me go around wondering about sewage pipes? Well, maybe sort of, but like I'm not always
Clearly,
interested in necessarily in the lives of
you keep bringing it up.
other
Is the
people,
thing.
and maybe we can add sewage into the list of topics alongside cement for our next next episodes.
Yes.
But
Stay tuned.
like asking people about that sort of stuff, I suppose, is a little bit not
Everyone's
performative,
doing
but it's
it.
like it's a social gesture, right?
Yeah,
It's a
I get. It'd
courtesy.
be weird. It'd be weird if you were saying people asking what you did and you said you were a waste disposal technician.
Yeah,
I mean, that'd
that
be
would be a
interesting.
lie. That would be a character.
You
I'm
should do
getting
it
into
next
the
time
role.
you and Casey are at a party, and you're kind of making small
I
talk. Just
literally,
just throw him a massive curveball and just say in front of Casey, "I'm a waste disposal technician," and just see if he runs with it.
I literally cannot think of a single time that Casey and I have been at a party together in four and a
But
half
that's
years.
okay. That's okay.
But
That's
I'll,
okay,
I'll
Nick.
keep that in mind.
Do you think you're yourself with Casey?
Yeah,
That's
yeah, probably
good.
to everyone's detriment.
Yeah. What about your folks? Because I feel like my parents, I'm like quite. My family, my brother and my sister especially. I'm just like unabashedly myself. I don't think I've ever said unabashedly
Well,
before. Is
you
that even a word?
crushed it. If you, yeah, that was like I was impressed, and I was like, wow, this guy knows
They
how to
love that.
talk. But then you
Yeah,
stopped it
man.
and you reflected on it, and we lost all the
Yeah.
momentum.
Ah,
Um,
story of my life.
you're unabashedly yourself with your siblings.
Yeah, I think like the real me is just like really silly.
Yeah, I can see that. But when you're with
Yeah.
parents, you need to like sort of
Not really.
sometimes modulate that a bit.
No, I don't think I actually do.
Okay.
Maybe I turn it up a little bit.
Sure. And that's
Because
the
when you
lie. The lie is that you're
when
actually sillier with them than you would naturally be. You're
yeah, yeah.
leaning in.
Yeah. My natural state of silliness is a 9, but with them I'm an 11, which is actually not me. It's a little bit
It's too
too
strong.
far in the other direction.
Yeah.
What was that?
Do you have a dog
You
in
know
the room?
what? I wish. We got a ongoing mouse problem, as I said. And you know what I bought the other
What do you
day? I
mean,
bought
as I said? You haven't said that before, ever.
well, I think I told you that I caught a mouse like a few months ago.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, don't give me
I
that.
like, I have zero memory of that, but I believe you.
Okay. So in this room, Lauren was working the other day, and a mouse. This isn't even the kitchen. No one eats in this room. Just a mouse just walking
Just a
around.
loose mouse.
Loose mouse in the
God.
house. And I bought a. So I've done the mouse traps. I've done this bait contraption thing. They're still around. We live near train tracks, so someone said that was
So
a
what?
thing.
They're hitching a ride. Like they're coming in from out of town.
Yeah, yeah. They're coming in from the city.
That's so
These
tough.
city mice.
Yeah.
They're really
The big city mice commuting home for the night.
But they I bought this I was like I've tried everything to get these mice away from our house, and I was in Bunnings yesterday and I found something I haven't tried, which was a thing that you plug into the wall, and it's a sound.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a sonic mouse, whatever it's called.
Does the sonic stuff work on more than just hedgehogs?
Do the intro.
But I want to hear you laugh.
I'm not gonna laugh at that.
Okay, welcome to Deep Thought, everybody. This is a podcast about comedy, making each other laugh between two friends. And sometimes you have a really good joke and it gets nothing. And
This is the intro.
I need to just come to terms with the fact that you can't pick your podcast host.
No, you can't actually.
But nevertheless, this is
Here we are.
what we have. Sitting through the internet with me this week, my friend Michael. Hello, mate.
What's up? Hey, Nick.
Hey, bro. Hey, sup. Hey,
Hey, Chief.
hey, King.
King. King is big.
Let's call each other King now. Let's
Dude,
get this going.
I'm kinging it up. I'm doing too much king.
Okay.
I'm doing king so much that it's like patronizing.
Okay, I love it. Is this when you're like getting coffees from baristas and things?
Dude, I have been doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You give up big calling someone a king energy.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
king
like
energy.
an ethnic stereotype, but it's your vibe.
It's an ethnic stereotype.
Yeah. Okay.
You're right. Yeah. You're stereotyping me as a 1/8 Sri Lankan person.
Oh, I was thinking that was much more coming from like the Ukrainian gangster side.
I forget about that side of myself.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, my name's Nick. Hi. Hey. Hi.
Sunday.
Can
It's
I
Sunday.
can I get an honest answer here? Are you all right? You look tired. You look teary. You look emotional.
Do I?
Yeah. Were you out? Were you busy? What's this vibe?
I guess I feel a bit tired, but like I'm fine. Like I don't think. Actually, Lauren just said to me I look tired.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I am tired.
Maybe you have a disease.
That's okay. Maybe I probably got maybe I have schizophrenia.
Let's not go down that route anymore.
No.
You've told me we're not allowed to do diagnoses anymore. One and done.
I do keep hearing a sound.
Did
though.
you hear?
It could be the mouse thing. It could be the mouse thing.
Maybe you've been sleeping so poorly because like 1,000 mice have been sleeping on your chest.
Yeah. I'm gonna dream about that now.
Yeah, and every night you'll hear this like
At
of
least
like
someone will be touching me.
rodents.
Yeah. It's nice to be touched.
Look, you take anything at this point.
I will.
Okay. Well, let's get started here with a little bit of a mailbag right off the top. Mailbag, mailbag, it's the weekly mailbag.
Deep thoughts mailbag.
Oh, let me just check the mailbag here. Oh, yeah, PayPal. Oh, yeah, lots of spam. Oh, yeah, Podbean, blah, 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 blah. Oh, this is all interesting. Hey, what's this here? An email from our friend Casper. Entitled, A Decade in Da Deep. Dear Deep Fort, sorry for the late email. I thought I sent this, but I hadn't. Huge congratulations for 10 years of hijinks, topical discourse, and nonsense, interspersed with moments of uncomfortable sincerity. No word of a lie when I say I enjoy listening to the show, Nick, and I've even grown to enjoy your regular guest, Michael. Musical number was anthemic. Immediately ran it back after it finished. You're the best at what you did. Much love, Young C. Thank you, Casper. How sweet. Thank you for your sincere emails.
My boy.
Oh, what a musical superstar in his own right. Rap god, most popular track on our Christmas album, Volume 1.
Well, it's not about plays, Nick.
Well,
it's not about plays.
Given that none of them have hit 1,000 yet, and so don't have a number, it's sort of hard to tell. But just my rankings.
See. I get the back end stats,
you get
baby.
The back end.
Yeah.
Okay,
I do. And
Yeah.
we're about to crack. We're about to crack
Triple
about
figures.
250. Yeah. Yeah. It's great when you every now and then you go on over to Spotify and maybe you click on the Deep Fort music profile.
Yeah.
3 monthly listeners. That feels great.
It does feel great.
And then you pop over to Drake's.
What's Drake doing these days?
He's popping like 1.2 billion per month. Who's listening to Drake?
Well, there's this
Get
big,
it together.
Isn't there this big
Grow up.
rap like this diss battle going on at the moment?
Kendrick, yeah. What's that about?
I don't know. You
Nah,
you
I
might
don't
be
care.
shocked to hear this, Michael. But I don't follow this side of the music industry that closely.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to know.
I did see that the most recent flurry of tracks back and forth had like one of them look up the home, like the mansion of the other on a sex offender registry, and it had like 14 sex offender like
That's pretty fun.
stamps on things. So like they're going hard, but I don't know why or what's going on.
I'm not going to look into it, you know.
What have you been
how about
listening
this? Just P. Diddy. A lot of P.
to? Oh,
Diddy.
okay. Yeah, a bit of Ice-T.
Yeah.
You go for the oldies.
Well, wait. Do you know what's going on with Diddy?
Well, he was like arrested for all the sex abuse things, right?
Diddy been diddling?
Yeah, I mean, it was in the name.
Yeah.
This is the
Is that mailbag over, by the way?
That mailbag was
mailbag
that
over?
mailbag, yeah. That was
And that was mailbag.
mailbag. I mean, I could, one of the old gags of mailbag was reading some Podbean statuses and PayPal statuses. I feel like we've matured past that as a brand now. I don't think we need to go back to that well.
I love that.
But just so you know, getting dozens of emails, most of them newsletters, a lot of them spam.
And we'll never unsubscribe.
And we will never. Because that's what matters.
I just finished watching your show.
Oh, yeah. My show Good Grief, available now to stream on SBS On Demand, Season 2.
That's the one. I had seen episodes 1 to 3, and then I binged both. I binged that whole second season in 2 different lots. I know that's probably not the definition of binging.
Well,
but to me, if I watch 2 episodes, that's a binge.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I watched 3, and then 3, and I highly recommend watching the first half of the season, and then waiting 3 months, and then watching, watching
it would actually be longer. It must be, because it was last year, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so at least like 5 or 6 months.
Well, highly recommend it. Just give me enough time to absorb it, Nick.
Yeah,
there's
to
a
really
lot going
process
on, man.
it. There's a lot
going on
there's
thematically, character-wise.
And you can really track the arcs better when you give yourself 6 months between episodes to really just percolate.
That's right. Got to percolate, baby.
Got to perk.
First of all, well done.
Thank you.
It's genuinely a good show.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I realized that I actually made a notes thing when I watched the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And then I found it, and then I added to it. And I just thought, I've got just some things that made me laugh and some thoughts.
Great.
Should we run through it?
Let's do it. And look, this is obvious to listeners. We're talking spoilers now. I'd love it if you would go check out my show. I spent a lot of time on it, along with a lot of other people. But if you haven't watched it, this probably won't make sense. So maybe skip ahead to the next chapter. Or pause the podcast here, go watch an entire season. 6 episodes are available now.
And then come back to the show?
Then come back. Then come back.
Yeah, come back to the...
Yeah, why not? I don't know about you. Look, I'm going to be real here for a second. I listen to some podcasts based on mood, based on situation, and sometimes that means getting halfway through a pod, and then it's a week, and then I come back and finish it off. You know, like...
That's psychotic.
That's not psychotic.
Coming from me, who...
I waited 6 months.
Yeah. Some of these notes I may not be super connected. I think I am though.
Okay.
All right. So these are just some things that I just noted down. They're mostly things that I found funny.
I love it.
All right. Number 1, fright fart. Very funny.
Fright fart.
Love that.
I hope that
really
catches on. I think vernacular-wise, I think that we can make this happen.
It's very because I think I've done that.
You think you've scared someone or been scared?
No, I've done a fright fart.
Okay, someone spooked you and you let one out.
Yeah. I'll go,
oh gosh.
yeah.
In what sort of context?
Well,
at a like horror movie, like when you're in the office with your headphones on and someone walks up behind you.
I'm not often watching a horror movie in the office, Nick. I've got to say.
I was saying it's two separate concepts.
I mean, sometimes, sure.
Why isn't this report
Just
on my desk?
break.
Oh, I was watching Saw 10.
Yeah. I'm just watching Carrie.
Yeah.
Give me a minute, Sean. The use
Shout out to Sean.
Actually, Sean's my actual manager.
Okay.
Bleep that. The use of cock. There was a lot of cocks. The word in episode 1, and I was wondering, do you have a limit of how many cocks you get? I mean, you don't.
No. Yeah. I mean, very.
But
very
you
good.
know that
Look
I had
into
to.
That one.
You know that I had to. So,
Yeah.
You know, I had to do it.
We didn't have any language. Language. What would you call it? Restrictions. Yeah. Like we use cunt in the first season, and that's socially acceptable in Australia and New Zealand. I think so. That's acceptable here and UK, but in America that's very taboo still. But yeah, as far as I know, they aired it. We didn't actually, I think, go back to it in the second season, but we could have. But there's definitely, there was a bit of cock talk, but ultimately I think for comedy you don't want to keep saying the same word over and over again, because I think like one of the phrases we use is foreign schlong, and that's funnier than saying cock, I think. But there's conversations about like, oh, should we say cock? Oh no, let's not. What's another way? Oh, foreign schlong. That's better. That feels more. That feels more original.
I love that. That's your job at some point in time.
At some
it's
point,
just like your job is to find other ways to say cock.
Yeah.
Okay, Gwen.
Yeah.
Aspiring DJ.
Yeah.
Doesn't really get there in the end.
Yeah.
But I was wondering.
Yeah. Modeled on you.
She's put. Oh. Okay. Because my follow-up question that really took the air out of the tires there.
Sorry.
So we don't get to see her DJ. We never get to see her DJ, right?
Yeah, we don't. Well, actually, in the first season, at a funeral.
Okay,
but not this season.
So what I was wondering, I'm assuming she's not a good DJ. I mean, this is in your head. She's not a good DJ, but what music does she play?
So in the first season, we do see a bit. She's not bad, actually. Like she's not great. She's not good enough to be a professional DJ. But she's got a decent deck and a little bit of passion for it.
Does she have taste?
It's an interesting question. I don't think there's going to be like a great deal of like. art house or like
or like old
obscure.
records or
Yeah,
whatever.
like she's not going to be mixing in like 60s classic, riffs on
Nah.
top of that sort of modern beat or whatever. I think she'd be
Yeah.
hitting up like 21-year-old parties is sort of her vibe.
Yeah. Okay. More of like a wedding kind of songs you'd hear at
Yeah.
a wedding.
Yeah. There's like in the
Yep.
first season it's like a lot of like doof kind of thing, sort of like ravey kind of vibes.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think she was destined for DJ greatness.
Okay. Good to know. Little
There was
little
here's a little bit of a little
little
sneak.
fanfic.
We actually wrote, so in the second end of the second episode, I think, before Gwen returns to working at Loving Tributes, she has a heart to heart with Ellie when she's on stilts, and there's talk there like Ellie's like, "What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to be? Do you want to be a DJ? Like, what happened with that?" And Gwen says, "Oh, I did it like twice when I was over there. Once of it was in an internet cafe." And we, in an original version of the script, had written that scene. So instead of saying I did it in an internet cafe, we just cut to her and she was DJing, and then we were going to pull back along banks of like like tourists and like Asian kids playing World of Warcraft in an internet cafe as she's like standing in the corner, and then someone comes up and she's like, "Oh, you want to request a song?" And she's actually just trying to reach over the counter to get like an energy drink from behind Gwen, and then
That's
come back to the
niche.
scene. So we ended up cutting that for time and for resources because it was unnecessary in terms of the overall plot, and killed the flow of the scene. But we had actually written another DJ scene.
I guess you'd have to get rights to songs as well.
Yeah, you have to license music, but also it was like, okay, we got to find an internet cafe in 2024 in Auckland,
Yeah.
take the entire crew there, film for like one thing for a cutaway shot, like just.
Are there still internet cafes around?
Well, not here, but theoretically, this was when she was in Bali, so we assumed that in Bali there's internet cafes. Yeah.
Little digi nomads.
Yeah.
Casket, human in a basket.
Can I tell you? That's the most
Tell me.
proud thing I've ever written. That was me.
Very good. I knew that was you.
Yeah. When that came, that was actually probably one of the most fun days that we were writing, because by that point we were like 3 episodes into a very compressed writing schedule. We were all getting a bit tired. We were all getting a bit silly. And then we just had this like moment of brilliance of like, okay, what are we going to do in this scene, this little thing? Maybe Bo can start rapping. What's the kind of freestyle that he'd come up with? Because he's also not a very good rapper. And then, casket, human in a basket.
Very good. Very good.
Probably my greatest accomplishment.
The guy in episode 2, the guy using a fake ID, is clearly over 18. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean that was a PA on the show who was there and was given the role because, again, time and money, baby.
You don't have to tell me. Dean singing jazz at the funeral is
that was based
ridiculous.
On
I was like, what the fuck?
Josh Thompson is not a very confident singer or natural singer. And the same thing in the first season. We got him to do some like warm-ups in the chapel and some like vocal warm-ups and like a little bit of a dance under a spotlight. And that was the most nervous of all of the scenes of the entire season that he had to do. And
but he's a very good actor, by the way.
He's fantastic. He's a genius.
He is so good.
He's
like
really...
in the last episode.
Yeah.
Like when his dad dies. Yeah. Like the way he doesn't overdo it.
Yeah.
Is like really good acting.
And also like accurate to the role. Like we asked funeral directors, like what happens when you... Like when this happens to you, like you deal with death every day. How does that affect you? And, they were saying,
it's just like treating it like business.
Yeah. And that's probably my biggest regret of the season is that we had a top limit to the length of episodes because we had to deliver to American 23-minute durations. And our first edit, we're jumping around here, but since we're on the topic, our first edit of the 6th episode was 10 minutes over the 23-minute cut. We had so much else in that last episode, and we just had to chop and chop and chop and chop and chop and chop and chop. And unfortunately, one of the things that hit there were two other scenes with Josh and his dad across the course of the season that we shot that didn't make it in. There was one in episode 3 where um, he and his dad are wandering through a mall and go to a furniture shop, and his dad has a milkshake, and they're like browsing through things, and his dad really wants a lazy boy, and they're wandering around, and they try out these things, these different chairs, and he sits down in this chair and he's got his milkshake, and then like a sales rep comes over and tries to offer them the thing, and Dean says, oh, we can't afford this, we don't need this money, like what's wrong with the thing? And he's like, I need lumbar support, all this kind of stuff. And then he hits the armrest release and like the incline release handle and flings backwards, and then a full milkshake goes all over him and all over the brand new chair. Shot it fun. Incredible, hilarious. Cutting room floor. Needed more time. And further to your point, episode 6, there was a scene that we shot, a really fucking beautiful scene where Dean
fucking beautiful, mate.
Fucking beautiful. Where Dean is
really fucking beautiful scene.
Sorry, that was Joaquin coming through. Where he was embalming his dad. So we actually shot a scene of him in the embalming room where he like broke down in tears and like cried as he was doing this thing, this daily service, but to his dad. It was his final like beautiful gesture that he could do for his father. Really, and it was,
I'd like to have seen that.
Unbelievable. And as you say, Josh Thompson is an incredible actor and really got there and delivered. But got to kill your darlings for time. It didn't. Never made it. But,
even when he did cry at the the funeral itself, he didn't overdo it. I love it when people don't overdo it.
Yeah, he's really terrific.
Most people wouldn't have the pussy to do what you do.
Yeah. Do you think that was one nice. Of me?
No.
That was me.
Really?
Yeah.
Sexist. The prince at the renovator who's squatting, this is just something that made me laugh. Where she's like, I've found some artwork, and it's just the most depressing like Shutterstock of like grief.
Yeah,
it was fucking hilarious.
My favorite line delivery in that moment is, they look at them and she's trying to see it the way they see it, and she's like, what do you mean? She's on a swing.
She's a fun character.
She's a great character. And then Josh ad-libbed, this wasn't scripted, technically, which is just the driest delivery, but which always makes me laugh.
The raw prawn on a soup spoon.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Really hard to think of deliberately bad, fancy food.
What else did you have?
Oh, God. I mean, in the scene or other ideas we had but didn't use?
Yeah, that one.
I don't know if I can think of what other stuff it is. I think we started
like stuff
running
that's
out
almost of food.
Stuff like, that's almost fancy. The thing that we ran,
almost fancy.
The thing that we put in that scene that's probably us also running out of good ideas was like a lightly crumbed chicken tender glazed in a tomato ragu or something like that, and they're like, you mean a chicken nugget and sauce? It's like, fuck, I've got to get away with that. But that's also just us being like, fuck, well, what else kind of plausibly fancy thing could you do badly?
Yeah, that would be fun to try and as a thought exercise.
I was literally just thinking back to like Wallace functions, like trying to think all the stuff that we put on those platters. It's just like deep fried samosas and like weird little nibbles and things.
a lot of material out of that.
Genuinely, like all of the sort of catering and culinary stuff in that show was very heavily influenced by our Wallace successes.
Thank you, Michelle. So the ending is pretty wild.
Yeah.
And it feels like there is more explanation needed there. It's like I was wondering how you were going to end it there, because obviously you didn't know that there was not going to be a third season.
Yeah. So
can you talk me through that, like trying to write an ending for a show that you didn't know what the future was?
Yeah. It's a tricky tightrope to walk, really, because we wanted to
If
do
you leave
more
it
of the show.
ambiguous,
Yeah, not necessarily ambiguous, but like open-ended enough that you could pick it up, but satisfying enough that it felt okay if it didn't come back. And
yeah,
both of the seasons' final beats came from Grace. So in the first season, when Gwen decided that she was going to go to Bali anyway and bought tickets secretly, and they end up in the church and have this sort of heart to heart thing. We were trying to work out what the sort of feeling of that scene was going to be, because it's quite dramatic but quite sincere but still loving, but like what's that balance to walk? And then Grace said, okay, what if she just punches Gwen at the end? And
okay,
that felt like the nice kind of like sweet, you've had a hug, but also I like did this thing dirty, and boom, that's kind of like sister punch
yeah, yeah,
dynamic.
yeah,
You have that kind of sibling closeness, anger sort of thing. And
yeah,
then when it
yeah.
came to the second season, we were working through this same sort of question of like, okay, what do we want to build to? Where are we leaving it for this kind of thing? And then Grace again said, what if the place burns down? And immediately our thought was, well, that's ridiculous. You can't do that. No,
Yeah.
what does that mean? How do you burn down the fucking funeral home? And where does that leave the show where it to come back? And then we talked about it and we thought about it. And the other fear, of course, there as well is like, how will that play if it doesn't come back? Will everyone fucking hate it? Will it feel like there's this big thing that was unresolved?
Yeah.
And ultimately, we settled on doing it with the confidence that all of the other character stuff that we would tell across that season would get a natural kind of bow, would feel like it had reached a satisfactory place. And then this is almost like a little teaser more than it is like a cliffhanger. And so we worked
Gotcha.
really, really hard to make sure that like Ellie's journey to being like a girl boss and to like starting dating again, and to her dynamic with Dean as co-owners, and Dean's journey to seeing her as like a partner, and his relationship with the job and with his work and with his dad, and all of these other characters got their closure,
The moment, yeah.
got their moment. Gwen comes to terms with her mum. Gwen and Bo get together. Bo doesn't have to do all these odd jobs anymore. Sharon wins the lottery and then loses all the money. All of this, not loses, spends all the money. All of these things, we worked really hard to make sure that they had a satisfactory sort of leaving off point, so that we could then confidently burn the thing down and know that if it never came back, we'd be okay. And I think, I hope, I feel personally that we succeeded at that. That knowing that it won't necessarily come back, to me, there is a sort of beautiful poetic symmetry in ending like that, where you have the premise of this show is this funeral home falling in these sisters' laps, and they don't want it and they rebel against it, and they slowly get won over by the idea and find a sort of purpose in it and find a direction in it and come to appreciate it, and then feel confident in themselves doing in it. And then by the end of the series, it gets taken away from them because the funeral home gets burnt again. And you give a double, a double cremation to Hemi, their grandfather, burning his ashes again in the funeral
That's
home
why I
that he
liked
owned.
it. That's why I liked it. Like, it made sense. It was dramatic, but it made sense. And there's layers to that. There's cremation. There's fire. There's killing of your darlings as well. Like, even like in a meta way for you guys.
Yeah.
Burning down the house.
Yeah.
I think it made sense, and it was I was there for it.
Yeah. And to be clear, we had a plan for what a season 3 would look like. If the show continued, we'd know how to continue, and we knew what we'd do. And that was a really exciting idea, and I would love the opportunity to get to tell that story. I don't think we will, but we
If you got commissioned for a spin-off, who would you choose to what would the spin-off show be about? Which character?
That's an interesting question.
I already know the answer.
I think sincerely, if you're looking to spin off a show, a spin off needs to be far enough away from the original setting and premise of the show that it's not so incestuous, that it's not treading on the
Yeah.
toes. So I think it would have to be Trisha. I want to see
Yep.
Trisha's renovations.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is a true or
I've
false.
sincerely not thought about that before, but I would be down for that. I do want to know, my favorite episode that we did was episode 5, which is the episode with Robin, the woman who comes in to plan her own funeral. And that, I think, was one of the best ideas we had going into the season. And I think it turned out as good as I could have hoped. Did you have any feelings as
Yeah.
you watched that one?
I agree that it was probably like the way that it handles death was very interesting, especially in a comedy show. It didn't shy away from things. I also love that she was just like obsessed with Michael Jackson.
That was based on Michael.
Yeah, okay, wow. Sounds like you owe me some money, mate.
If only we had royalties to pay you. Yeah.
No, I loved how you guys dealt with that. It was philosophical. It was existential. It was, and again, not overdone, not over egged.
Thank you. That actress, as it turned out, had cancer herself, and she'd been invited to take on this role by the director who knew her, and she thought that he knew that she'd had cancer, and that's why he'd reached out to
Oh,
her.
really?
But that was coincidence. He didn't know that, and she got onto set, and then it sort of came up, and everyone was like, "Wait, what? You had a cancer scare?" And she's like, "Yeah, I assumed that's why you offered this to me." And everyone's like,
Oh, wow.
"Oh no, no." But she was incredible.
I did have one question about that because is she meant to be bald from
She
chemo?
has a headscarf on, but
Yeah,
it's
but I saw her
theoretically
hair.
she's stopped chemo, so it's regrowing.
But
Yeah,
why would she have a headscarf? I guess it's
just a
just to
style,
say
or because it might be patchy or whatever.
how. Okay. I'm not trying to pick holes in your
No,
writing here, Nick.
just clarity. Yeah.
But someone's got to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I hope that was of interest to people listening at home as well. Like I said, I do wish that certain scenes we'd been able to include in the show, like that there's stuff on the cutting room floor. There was also an extremely long uh so in the funeral in the 6th episode, it ends with Ellie having to do singing, which is very amusing to me. But then, as scripted, the rest of the chapel joined in and they all sang alongside her, which was really nice. Lost that for time. In the middle of that scene, there's also this random old guy, Nobby, who comes on in a
I love that.
in an electric
He's at
scooter.
the wrong funeral and then pleasantly surprised when his mate isn't dead.
Yeah.
That
So
was very funny.
he discovers after the fact that, oh, this is not my friend. Finchy is who you meant, not Fish. And so, as scripted and as shot, that scene goes on for twice as long. So he discovers that his friend's actually alive, and he's so excited. And then
Love that he doesn't discover it when there's photos.
yeah. I
clearly
mean,
being
Dean says the
presented.
same thing to him. But then he hops on the phone to call up the friend that he thought was dead. And then he gets on the phone. He's like, "Hey, oh God, is Fitchy there? Like, let's chat." And then he goes, "Oh, oh, oh, oh dear, oh, I'm so sorry, Charlene. Oh," and then gets off the phone, and his friend is actually dead after all. And then he rides off again, sad, because he was sad. He came out. He discovered it's a different person. He gets happy. He calls the friend that he thought was alive. Discovers he's also dead. Gets sad again, and then rides off again like a full fucking roller coaster. And
Love that.
that made us laugh more than just about anything. But again, not had to cut it.
How do you come up with names? Because I feel like names is like one of those weird things, not having ever written a script, but like names is such a hard thing to, it seems like it's such a hard thing to do because you want something that's like, you don't want to be like John, but there's heaps of Johns in the world. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a hard one.
TV names is a real thing, right? Like the idea of like a character name, because as you say, like a normal person's name, like this is a cliche at this point, but there are fucking millions of John Smiths out there, right? But if you put John
Yeah.
Smith in a script, people
Yeah, it's
read
not
meaning into
exciting enough.
names. And so that choice would actually sound deliberately generic in a way that you, the
Yeah,
reader,
yeah.
would be like, what are you trying to say by calling this person John Smith? Like, that's literally Mr. and Mrs. Smith, right? Anonymous
Yeah.
identities. But then if you go the other way and you're like, it's Marguerite Devereaux, you're like,
Yeah, yeah,
but you
yeah.
don't see
That's
many
too
of those
much.
people, you know?
So you have to be somewhere in between. I think Bo is a good name because
Yeah.
it's like it's unique, but it's not too much. Dean
Yeah.
is good.
The closest we get is Sharon, which is Sharon with a Y and Sharyn. And that's us verging on the point of like showing our hand that she's a little bit like bogany or like uncouth, that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So it is tricky, but like there are names in this show, like the third episode, I think, with the rural funeral. There's a Clavins. There's a Reverend Clavins, which is explicitly just my friend Bernadette and Patrick from the Wallace era. That's just their surname that I put in because Clavins is it's a fun name to say. And
Clavs.
same with Claire. There are many times when I actually just put my friends' names in because they bring a certain feeling in my head. And
Ouch.
sometimes, well, that's what I was building to.
Just
Unfortunately,
going through
Zabrecki is just
characters.
it's too weird to like get
Too
away
weird.
with.
Too weird. Okay.
It doesn't, there's limits.
Too weird.
Yeah.
Also, I've never met a lesbian called Trisha, by the way. So
Trisha's not a lesbian.
yeah, she is.
Okay. Wow. You learn something, when you put out into the world.
How is she not a
you really
lesbian?
have to. She talks about her ex-husband.
Nah. Yeah, X for a reason.
Well, this will be very interesting to explore in the spin-off.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to see that show. Just to close this loop, I don't know if there's more you want to say on this,
No, go ahead.
but I did some research myself, and I found some reviews.
Okay.
These aren't critic reviews, but
Okay.
I just thought I'd read some of them out.
Okay.
be
Where
fun.
have we located these?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
The internet. All right. Laugh out loud funny. Have not laughed out loud at a TV show this much in a TV show in years. Every episode there was a hit pause after laughing to collect myself. This is a brilliant original show with great heart and inventiveness. Love the characters, the cast, and the chemistry. There's never been a funeral home with so much life. Beautifully shot and filled with Kiwi humor.
Wonderful. That's very
Truly
nice.
one of the best shows. Truly one of the best shows of the year we have streamed in 2022. Here's
First
another
season.
one from
Oh, no, second season.
Joey P. This is just the show
Yeah.
itself, right? Joey P. 10 out of 10. Very funny. I loved it. I love the dark humor and the music. I thought the two sisters are very good actresses and have great chemistry. I love how they're real sisters in real life.
Yeah.
It's nice, isn't it?
That's nice.
Katie Cliff. 10 out of 10. Good grief is very good.
Great.
The best production to come from New Zealand in a long time. Being
Yeah.
Aussie, I don't usually enjoy New Zealand television. However, this has a good neutral tone that works for any English-speaking country. It could have been in a country England or South Coast Australia. They got the balance so right in this series. Not at all over the top, nor completely insular for just New Zealand spectators. I couldn't get enough.
Oh, great. That's very nice. Oh, these are all lovely.
Very nice. Nylan Net.
Okay.
6 out of 10.
Oh,
This is these reviews have headings.
okay.
The heading is 6 Hobbits Under.
Okay.
The never-ending similarities between this show and 6 Feet Under cannot be pure coincidence. The plot points match up nearly exactly. Can you comment on that, Nick?
Again, I've never watched 6 Feet Under.
Good comment, Nick.
Yeah, no, I don't. I
All
don't.
right.
I mean, it's set in a funeral home, so I'm sure there's only so many things you can do.
Long Red 068.
Okay.
This is not cute or funny. This is not cute or funny. It's the heading and the opening.
That's good
Please
they repeat
don't. Your despicable commercials are seen by kids. This is a terrible idea for a show. Please don't. You can't think of a better idea? Is there any respect for anyone? Please don't.
And how many other users recommended that comment, Michael?
0.
0 out of
54.
51. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one here is from Head Turner 1. The heading is I'm rating.
Okay.
7 out of 10. Prematurely, just to say this is nothing like 6 Feet Under since I came here to read the reviews. I only watched 3 episodes so far, but yeah, no. It has no separate storylines like with a brother, sister, mother, Rico, and was less comedic in tone. Anyways, it's an okay watch so far, but not brilliant like 6 Feet Under. A lot of 6 Feet Under fans.
People like the 6 Feet Under. I mean, one of the great finales of all time, famously. Still haven't watched
Last
it.
one.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Tell that to
Your lawyers,
one, mate. Last one. 10 out of 10. I don't usually find comedy amusing. That's the heading. But this,
I don't usually find comedy amusing.
I know.
Any. Normally, I find comedy really depressing.
Don't like comedy.
Yeah.
But this series is an absolute hoot. Short, compact episodes, chemistry between the characters, subtle humor that actually had me slug out loud. I loved it.
Slug out loud?
I don't know what that means,
I guess
dude.
Laugh out loud typo, I'm guessing. Well, look, gotta love IMDb. Thank you for
you know it. Yeah, you've read them.
I've read them. Yeah. Have I internalized them and thought about them for years? Yeah, maybe.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your kind words as well. That's good grief. That's season 2. I hope you out there enjoyed it, and I appreciate anyone who checked it out. Thank you very much, Michael included.
Thank you.
Hey, speaking of comedy, been watching a lot of stand-up recently.
Samesies, my man.
I thought we could maybe check in on the state of the old stand-up world as two authorities in the matter. And just sort of float what we've been watching and maybe also touch on this the Seinfeld woke vibes bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I saw that we've both enjoyed Dimitri Martin's special.
Oh, did you read my little note? Yes.
I did. Every now and then I check in on that, but
yeah.
I had that written down for myself. That was so good, man. He's so fun.
He's very fun. And I actually realized that I'd seen the start of that live or pieces of that live because he toured New Zealand 2021 2022 something like that, and I went and saw it here in Christchurch, and I recognized I had a vague familiarity with some of the jokes and things, and I was like, why is this familiar? And I realized it's because I'd seen some early version of it.
Oh wow. Live. I obviously stand-up's kind of exploding thanks to Netflix and stuff, and so there's it's a little bit saturated at the moment, and there are some people that are trying to take the form into different places, and doesn't often it's unnecessary. It's part of what makes stand-up beautiful is it's so raw. It's just a person on a mic talking. But I really loved how Dimitri Martin played with the form in this.
He
it wasn't crazy.
He treated it like it was an edited. He used the rules and opportunities of editing to add extra jokes and layers to the stand-up world. Yeah,
which I think is a fun way to do it. I mean, there are comedians. Ricky Gervais did he'll point out things. He'll have presentation essentially.
Yeah.
And I saw that I think Ellen was doing that as well. But what's interesting about Dimitri Martin, especially, is that he's doing. Sometimes he's not even in the frame when he's doing jokes.
Yeah.
You know, he did. I can't remember that specific one, but he's writing out a joke or just showing you images and then letting you. The punchline is in your head.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool.
Or there was one moment where he layers 4 different nights deliveries of the line on top of each other.
Oh yeah, that was
seeing
cool.
which moment like played more, or like building on the idea by showing it repeatedly, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which just a meta level kind of stuff, which was really enjoyable.
Very, very clever.
The one, speaking of seeing it live, his shtick of having this big pad of notes that he like pulls pages on, he's been doing for 20 years now. You know, like this is his brand. And there was a very clever thing he did where he goes through it and then starts going backwards and telling different jokes, which I thought was very excellent. But halfway through the show, he does a thing with like a devil where he's got like a mouth.
That was so good.
I could take or leave it, but he tried that in Christchurch and it was absolutely pin silent. Like absolutely nothing.
No one laughed.
Not a laugh.
Really?
Like I can't remember the specific content of the thing he was saying, but it was getting nothing whatsoever. Silence. And he aborted halfway through and said something along the lines of, maybe we better go back to the drawing board with this one. And he's like, yeah. And just kills it and then moved on to the next thing. But it's interesting. I don't know whether revisions, whether a different audience, whether American crowds like that stuff better. But I do remember that moment being like, oof, this is not working here.
Like, you didn't think it was funny?
Nah, I did that one for whatever. I just didn't. Wasn't my favorite of it.
What else have you been?
So I've been on a bit of a tear recently. Have you watched Tig Notaro's latest special, Hello Again?
No, I didn't even know it was out.
Yeah, so that one's out. I think that's Netflix. I think that's Netflix.
Cool.
I won't go into too much detail, but I like Tig Notaro.
I love her on a podcast. She's so
dry, and she's also very pop unaware. Like, you get a lot of funny moments where she doesn't know what the fuck anyone's talking about. But she has a great sort of premise. At basically the last third of the show, she brings out this piano and she's like, I'm going to end with a bit of a, I'm going to play the piano and sing a song. And you bring it out and everyone's like, oh, I didn't realize Tig can play piano or whatever. Like, that's not anything she's ever demonstrated. And then the entire bit is that she doesn't know how to play piano. And so it's just her going blunk, 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 blink, blunk, blink, blunk for like 20 minutes. Just like literally ages and ages and ages. And she also can't
telling
sing.
Jokes?
No, the whole point is the fact that she's trying to play the thing. And she's commenting on the fact that like people paid money to come here. And she's just sitting there on the stage, like playing keys that she doesn't know how to play. And it does tie in, like it's very funny and it does build to like a story sort of thing at the end of it. But just the premise of like a stand-up being like, I love playing piano. I don't know how to play it, but I love playing. And so she's just smashing stuff. And then the weird thing is that like at a certain point, for me, person who can play piano, at a certain point it crossed over into, well, that's actually not wrong. Like there is something here which actually sounds kind of like musically interesting or like melodic or like interesting sort of jazzy extensions and chords and things. And you're like, like it's not nothing. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed that special quite a lot.
Oh, well, I'll definitely watch that. I have been watching a lot of female comedians, Nick. How about that?
Oh, wow. Must be 2024.
I've got a list here. I'm just going to rattle some off, and I'm not going to talk about them, but these are just recommendations, essentially.
Yeah.
My favorite comedian at the moment is this chick. This lady called Jordan Jensen. I made it worse.
You sounded so like unconfident. Yeah.
Jordan Jensen.
Okay, I haven't heard of it.
Very, very funny. She's got a special called Death Chunk on YouTube.
American?
Yeah. Michelle Wolf. Michelle Wolf got like a kind of a series. She's broken up her
Yeah, there was
comedy
like three
sets.
little short ones from last year, right?
It's Great to Be Here. It's called.
Yeah, I told you to watch those at the time. I said that they were two of the
I
like
think you did, yeah.
funniest trans jokes that I'd ever heard.
And you love laughing at trans,
I do.
famously. Fern Brady. That's the new one. Autistic
Autistic Bikini
Bikini
Queen.
Queen.
Yeah,
Very good. Very funny.
I like that. I like Fern Brady.
And then just another couple of Rex here and men, just to even it out, just for balance.
Yeah,
Rory Scovel. I don't know if you know him, but he is
I do know Rory Scovel.
underdog. He doesn't have a huge following, but he should be bigger. He's got a special called Religion, Sex, and a few things in between. That is gold.
I tried to watch his show and I really bounced off it. I couldn't deal with it. I didn't like
What
it.
was the show?
I couldn't even tell you the name of it. It was maybe
All right.
4 years ago. There was like an episode that I watched, and maybe of six or eight, something like that. But I just, yeah, it was in that time when a lot of stand-ups were getting this sort of like short, scripted comedy projects. But yeah, that sort of put me off him
We'll go check that out. Dave Attell. I don't know if you know him. Like just
by
a
name. Yeah.
veteran New York comic. Hot cross buns. Hilarious. They're my Rex for comedy.
Um, we didn't talk Jimmy Carr. Did you watch Jimmy Carr's special?
Dude, stinkeroo.
I was interested about that one. Yeah, I had
He's
the
getting
same.
tired.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. This is why I brought it up.
I'm sick of the shtick.
That I was like, he's historically been so reliable, right? Like he's had this brand where he's these short one-liners, and then I watched this thing and I was like, oh, this isn't fresh anymore.
No.
He had a few stinkers, and then it was interesting because he's been on the interview circuit recently
Yeah.
talking about how he's consciously tried to expand his brand into longer form stories, telling a little bit more personal stuff. And
I've listened to all of those, and it's the fucking same thing on every fucking podcast.
yeah, I thought his like wife's birth story was actually kind of interesting. I didn't mind that. But then the ending of this special is him teaching a kid in the audience like consent, effectively teaching this teenager the rules of sex, and it goes on for like 20 minutes, and all the way through it I was just like, oh, I can't really go along with this. It felt weird to me.
The other thing that I really realized that I hate is his actual performance. His physical
His
performance.
style, yeah.
His thing where he does this thing, he goes, and then he does this like eye thing with it's too like, it's weird, it's gimmicky. It's like it detracts from the joke itself for me.
It's I know exactly what you're referring to. I think part of that is host Jimmy, like he's used to being the TV camera host, right? Where you're playing to the camera, you're playing to the audience in the room, sort of secondarily. I think part of it's from that, but then I do know what you mean, because he's got such a facade, and in fact, it's irritated me sometimes on podcasts that he is always sort of on rather than like open. And I think
he is open.
He's verbose, but I never feel like he's like emotionally revealing in those kind of conversations, right? Like he's not talking about like, this was a really difficult time for me because I was exhausted and I just lost my job and my best friend Sean Locke had just died, and like this was going through my mind and I was struggling with the blah blah blah. Like he's very like almost like business like. And I think
he's on a real self-improvement kind of tick now, isn't he?
But I think with that comes this kind of like performative distance when he's on stage as well, because he's keeping this barrier up. You never see him go like, oh, that one didn't work. I mean, I know it's a special, but like it's robotic almost.
Yep, totally feel that. And also like just I hate this thing that's creeping in, and Gervais is doing it as well. And I'm sure you know exactly what I talking about and feel the same way. But it's like this is going to be really offensive. And like introducing the joke because it's going to be offensive.
Let's take it up a level. You ready?
Hate that shit, man. Yeah. I used to like it. But that's because now a lot of people are doing it.
And it's also... It feels a little bit like whatever the reverse of virtue signaling is. It's like provocative signaling, like it's like, sure. Right, here we go. This is, let's still check out if you're cool enough.
Yeah.
Let me put on my sunglasses. Here we go.
Let's go, baby. Let me put on my
sunglasses. He's back. He's back. Is Joaquin in the room with you now?
Yeah.
A couple of others that I did watch. This was quite a while ago. I don't think we talked on pod, but Jacqueline Novak's "Get on Your Knees"
that was a tough watch, but it was funny.
I agree exactly. Yeah, I agree. It's like an hour and a half, and she talks so fast. Like it's an incredible feat of performance and stamina and memory. Like I don't know where she pulls all of this stuff from and how she can keep it in her head, but unbelievable. But also a barrage of by 70, 80 minutes in, you just feel like you've been, staring at the pipe of content for you're at the face of the mind.
You can say the dick. You can say dick.
You can be staring the dick of. I suppose in this context, it couldn't be more appropriate.
Yeah,
staring the dick in the face for the last 80 minutes, and it gets a bit exhausting.
Yeah. Wow.
But I really enjoyed that as someone who had not encountered her comedy before.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
She seems to be a real comedian's comedian because when all the comedians are posting about go check this out, you're like, oh, who is this?
Yeah.
But it was tough to watch. But
I found it funny and I found it clever.
In a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
In the same way that a raw prawn and a soup spoon might be tough to eat, but delicious.
Sometimes you got to give it a go. Yeah.
Call back.
Oh, very well done. Let's talk big three here. I want to talk Mulaney, both by himself and with Letterman. I want to talk Conan.
Haven't seen it.
And I want to talk Seinfeld.
All right, baby.
Where do you want to start?
Mulaney, I guess, but I haven't seen any of that new shit because I've been saving that like a beautiful little...
You have not seen My Next Guest Needs No Introduction?
No, man. I think this is tonight, big Mulaney fest in the Zabrecki household.
Well, then we can sort of we can roll past it. It's very nice to see Mulaney doing well.
And we both thought that he was about to hit the tracks again. That's not even hit the tracks.
Hit the tracks. Do drugs.
We both thought that he was gonna cark it again. Remember that?
I was nervous
when he got married, super
when he
quickly
got married.
And
well, he's not even married. He just has a kid, right?
Oh, really? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember. Maybe he did get married, but he seems in a good place, and
he really
he's
does.
Surrounded by
and
a lot of people.
He's joking about his sobriety and stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's good.
He's surrounded by a lot of people who want the best for him, and I think will keep him accountable. But yeah, the show that Letterman did with him was great. It had a really interesting mix of onstage chit chat, but then also pre-recorded bits. And the most interesting one is him and Letterman and Mulaney's dad out for dinner.
Really?
And they talk about, because Mulaney talks about his dad's personality, and then Letterman asks his dad about that stuff. It's really juicy. Yeah, it's good.
Oh man.
Mulaney's.
Awesome. I love that show, that Letterman show.
Yeah, it's
I just love the conversations.
Yeah. Mulaney's live show that's airing this week. Everybody's in LA.
So 15 minutes of it. It was so weird and
so weird. So weird. It. The start of it really funny. There's a lot of topical comedy stuff. Yeah. Having Richard Kind as a fucking sidekick is incredible.
He's great at it.
He's so good.
He's genuinely good at doing that.
Then halfway through, they bring out Seinfeld, and I was like, oh, okay. And Seinfeld really didn't seem like he wanted to be there.
He never does.
No. But then 20 minutes is spent with a guy I'd never heard of before that's some sort of local celebrity talking about his brand.
Okay, I'm not there.
Randy J or something like that.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I started cleaning the house. But like,
Okay.
I admire them just taking swings. I think it's kind of fun.
Well, I think it's like they kind of address it. He said, I only saw 15 minutes, but he was like, why do the show? And he's like, I don't know. And then he's like, but I need structure. Structure's good for me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's why.
It's 6 episodes, so we'll never get in the groove, which I think is great.
Yeah, the LA bit was hilarious
Very good.
as well.
There was also like a house buying thing, which I really enjoyed. But yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll leave you to enjoy it.
Check that out.
Conan O'Brien Must Go. Have you watched any of the international travel Conans?
One episode.
I've watched one as well.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I mean, it's a comedy. Comedy travel shows are my favorite shows.
I didn't know that.
Travel Man. It's the best show
good.
I've ever seen with Richard.
Okay.
Aywadi.
Yeah.
It's the greatest show I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I'm
Conan is
I'm
uniquely
so
built to
there
be
for it.
out in the environment as well. Like he suits it.
He's really getting this. He's really riding a wave at the moment. I know he's got a huge career, but he's got this resurgence, I guess, through Hot Ones or whatever. And
through the podcast, to be honest.
Well, I mean, literally in the last 2 weeks.
The Hot Ones thing is the greatest Hot Ones of all time. Like, I would never watch another Hot Ones again because I don't understand how you can do that show better. Like,
the Sydney Sweeney one's pretty good.
Okay, yeah. But like Conan's commitment to this bit, where he first spends the first 4 bottles insulting Sean on the premise of the show for being so pathetically weak, and then carries it all the way through to the point where he's like dunking entire bottles of sauce under the thing, rubbing it on his nipples, rubbing it on his face, getting a doctor in just to have repeated ridiculous doctor bits, screaming, dribbling milk everywhere, going absolutely insane. Like, you can't beat it. He's just the greatest. That's incredible.
He never tells jokes, which is funny. Like he is funny.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do it. He doesn't say anything he does say stuff that's funny, but they're not jokes.
He forms hilarious connections, and his grasp of like hyperbole and extremes is hilarious. He'll always take something to like 1,000,000%. But he's not, you're right, he's not like a traditional punchline kind of person. He's like just situationally incredibly aware of what people are giving him and self-aware about what he can bring to the situation, which is why he's perfect in the field.
Yes, and also on his podcast, I just listened to the Taylor Tomlinson episode, and when he's sincere, often when people are gear shifting from silly to then sincere, it's a bit cringe, it's a bit gross, it's a bit like icky, but he always does it with I always believe him. I'm always along for that ride as well, because he does it. He doesn't just do it for just to be sincere for sincere's sake. He does it genuinely. He says interesting things. He says like specific things, and it's always I always kind of like that, and I don't when a lot of other people do it.
I think he's a really sincere person in the sense that when he talks positively about something, you can tell that he does mean it, and he puts in the effort. Like, he's quoting Taylor Tomlinson's jokes back to her, and like everyone can say, "Oh yeah, I loved your special," but like to actually go in and be like, "Oh, and here's the specific jokes I liked," and when you told this story, or whatever, you're like, this guy actually watches it, and you can tell that he really loves comedy. That he's got he's surrounded himself with people for 30 years who have gone on this ride with him, and in the process, there's been a generation of people that came up under. And rather than being bitter about, what that means for him, he's not on late night TV anymore. He's actively like cheering the next generation on, which I think is the most genuine, like endearing thing to see from those like older generation is people like, yes, this is amazing. Comedy can be anything. Like, he name drops, like Hannah Gadsby and others, like changing up what comedy means, Actually, that's not true. That might be Mulaney.
Did he name drop any comedians?
Oh. Fuck you. Actually, I should mention I watched Hannah Gadsby's Gender Agenda on Netflix, which was explicitly because she called out Ted Sarandos from Netflix continuing to host Dave Chappelle's transphobic shit, and they gave her a special, which she then jokes about as being like moral scale balancing. And that was like a variety showcase with a bunch of like LGBT kind of comics. And some of them are terrible, but a couple of them I had never heard of before and were fucking incredible. So if you're willing to take a swing at it, I do actually recommend that special.
No way I'm going to do that.
Okay. She doesn't even do, it's all just like other comics. She's a host.
Anyway, Taylor Tomlinson is another one that for lady comedians.
Comedians.
Comedians. Yeah. I've got tickets to Maria Bamford actually.
Oh shit!
July.
He's in Melbourne. No.
Yeah, in July.
Oh, that's awesome. I would love to see her.
The goat.
She is.
The goat.
Where is she playing? She's going to have so many. Like I don't know that she knows how popular she's going to be.
She's playing at the Palais, which I saw Louis at and Tim Dillon at. So it's where the American comedians go. Yeah. But actually I saw Mulaney at John Rod Laver, which is that was a bigger show than Louis. But yeah, no, I think it'll be an interesting crowd. I wonder what the crowd will be like.
Yeah. I wish that any of them, when they come this far, would bother coming to New Zealand as well.
I think she is though. Oh, maybe she's not.
I'll have a look.
All right. Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. Where do you sit on Seinfeld?
Annoying. Hey, I think he thinks that he is an authority on comedy, which I get that he had a very funny show, but the way that he acts, we've talked about his Comedians in Cars with Coffee, which I do love that show, but the way he sometimes just like swaggers, and that episode with Fred Armisen when he's just like saying gay, like using gay. He's a great example of someone who is just set in their ways and refuses to change and is just outdated now. Society has moved on from him, but he's still acting like he knows what comedy is without taking into consideration that comedy is an evolving organism.
Yeah. And that society is an evolving organism, and so comedy has to change to match the evolving society.
That's just true.
Did you ever watch Seinfeld? Were you that person?
Yeah.
I never even watched it. Like it was
okay.
When it was airing, I must have been pretty young, and it was at a time when I wasn't like able to watch TV, just like family rules. But even if I had, I don't think I would have sorted out. But
I appreciate it more now.
Yeah.
Than I did.
I understand its place in the firmament of TV comedy and what that allowed going forward as, the grandfather of subsequent styles of sitcoms and shows and everything. But in the bits that I go back and see, it's hard to appreciate now the impact that it made.
If you weren't watching it at the time, I think it's one of those things that you can't be hard to go back to.
Yeah. But I think you're 100% right that he came up in this era where his success was at a time of, immense wealth would come to you from a show like that, right? His name's on it. He's getting residuals. It would air, 20 episode seasons for however many years all across the world. Like he got his millions. And with that comes a safety net and a security that assures that the entirety of the rest of your life, you don't have to worry anymore. You're not in the trenches. And I think that that's evidence now that you can see, like he's not out there out there working at it and trying to improve anymore. He's just him, and I don't know. I just find this whole you can't say anything anymore because of woke bullshit so tedious.
Yeah, so tedious. What did he say about that specifically? He said, You
got the quote?
I've got the Rolling Stone article up. He said it used to be you would go home at the end of the day. Most people would go, oh, Cheers is on. Oh, MASH is on. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on. All in the Family is on. You just expected there'll be some funny stuff to watch on TV. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending other people. When you write a script and it goes into 4 or 5 different hands, committees, groups, here's how I thought about this joke. Well, that's the end of your comedy. Okay, I guess that's the pertinent quote. Yeah, I mean, it's just so disprovable, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
but even Larry
David
did a whole episode where he wears a MAGA hat so that people don't talk to him at dinner.
Yeah.
Like, that's hilarious. That's
It's
edgy.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia has been doing the most provocative bullshit stuff for like 15 years. Like, it's still there.
Also, this is coming from the guy who's like famously clean.
Yeah.
Like, he's never done anything edgy. I mean, Seinfeld arguably was edgy. They had a few episodes about abortion, whatever.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't be aired today, but he's not an edgy guy. Like, hasn't affected him at all.
Yeah, and I mean, like, he's saying this stuff on a platform where, like, Netflix explicitly has boosted stand-up comedy to a level that I don't think has been seen in decades, right? Where these specials are going out internationally to people all around the world who are seeing this great influx of like investment and of new faces coming up and everything. Like, comedy is probably at the best place it's been in fucking decades. So I don't know how you can look around and be like, where is it? Because you're putting stuff out on the platform where it is.
Exactly. And he's just got this unfrosted movie, which is kind of funny because
absolutely god awful.
The Chicago Tribune, I read a review this morning, said it might be the worst film of the decade, which is kind of funny. But the other thing is, like, you know, with, like you said, you know, it is a great time for comedy. It's also coming up at the same time as cancel culture, whatever. But I think part of the reason is because comedy is dangerous again. You know, like, cancel culture kind of elevates comedy because it makes it like dangerous, you know, a little bit like,
there's an associated skill level now required.
Maybe there's a elevated risk or something, you know, with social media. And he has said that cancel culture is, you know, not hurting comedy. He said that. So he's kind of saying
contradictory things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't, well, maybe is just changed his mind based on like more recent feedback on how he's doing. But like, he was touring here. Seinfeld came to, or is coming to, New Zealand.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I'm not going to be rushing out, but he's clearly playing to like arenas around the world. So I find this whole thing sort of vacuous because clearly he can say whatever the fuck he wants.
I don't know. Boring, I think now. Like, I'm sick. I mean, I'm interested in comedy. I listen to podcasts when he's on, but like, I just don't think he's an authority on comedy anymore. I think comedy's moved on from him, and it annoys me that he still thinks he's the king.
I agree with that. I think he holds himself like he is the authority, but I don't know that anyone can be an authority on comedy because there's so many different ways to do it.
Things.
It can be.
Don't say it again. I know what you're going to do.
What am I going to do? I wasn't going to say Hannah Gadsby stuff. I was going to say it can be Jimmy Carr one-liners. It can be long personal talk. It can be scripted, like, punchlines. It can be performance art. It can be Neil Brennan. It can be, you know, sitcoms. It can be single camera. It can be web videos. It can be, you know, 5-second TikToks. You know, comedy is anything and everything. And I don't know why anyone would try to position themselves as the sole adjudicator of what is and isn't funny, because tastes are different between people as well. Exactly. Like, I don't know.
It's like, what's the best food?
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
There's no best food.
Yeah.
And just on that, and I'll give you a little slam dunk here, Nick. One thing I did think about the other day, that, you know how, like, on the back of the Gatsby stuff and Chappelle, you know, taking shots at her and stuff, I do find it interesting that Chappelle is just doing the same thing as Hannah Gadsby. Like, in terms of, like, I mean, a lot of the critique for Hannah Gadsby is that, like, you know, that's not comedy or whatever, because it's just stories. It's just, you know, saying that with like it's interesting stories with, you know, jokes sprinkled in. Chappelle, I know you're not up to date with, I mean, I flick on his specials because he just puts out one every fucking 2 weeks at this point.
Yeah.
But he's just fucking ranting. Like, he's literally he's a great he's a great communicator, but he's not funny. Like it's not like he's just preaching. He's a preacher, and I guess kind of the argument that a lot of people were saying about maybe not Hannah Gatsby preaching, but like that's not comedy. I'm like, but still people hold up Chappelle like he's the GOAT, but he doesn't say funny things though.
I know what you mean. Yeah, no, that's well put.
And this last one the last episode was called The Dreamer, and it was just about how he's such a dreamer. And he's like, I'm a dreamer, baby. And that was the theme.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I just we'll talk around in circles forever, but to me it feels like comedy is great, and there's so many, like we've listed off a whole bunch of people that we just loved, Dimitri Martin and Tig Notaro and Fern Brady and Jacqueline Novak and Mulaney and Conan, and like so many great people out there. Bamford. It's hard to be cynical and say that it's like preventing great things, because I just watched a million great things.
Exactly. Silliness. Look at us agreeing, Nick.
Oh, 2024, we've grown as adults. If you've enjoyed this show, then thank you. That's great. It means we've got a similar sense of humor. We appreciate quality things, and we appreciate each other. So why don't you reach out by sending us an email to deepthought@gmail.com like Casper did. You can reach us on our Instagram and our Facebook. You can find us on Spotify and listen to our songs there. The Decade in the Deep track is now up there on the Deep Thought profile. If you want to hammer that independent of the pod, go and do so. And of course, there's plenty more episodes in the back catalogue. So if you want to listen to the production side of the Good Grief story, last episode's a great place to start. And of course, that season again is on SBS On Demand as we speak. Thank you. Got any outro?
I've got a weird news. Pretty easy. Can I piss though first?
Oh yeah, you're busting, eh?
A little bit.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's all right. Wow. What the fuck did you do?
Scared the missus, mate.
Care to explain?
She was mopping, but she was listening to a podcast. And I went to go to the bathroom, and I just said, "Oh, hey." And then she just screamed. But she's listening to
we actively heard. I'm going to keep this in the pod.
How did it get on the mic?
Because it was so loud.
It was loud. She's listening to true crime all the time, and I think she's just constantly existing in this murderous space in her
nebulous
head.
area.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, it keeps the romance alive, doesn't it? See, Dwayne Johnson's released a shampoo.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Why?
I don't know. I think it's a joke. Like, it's like the product's not a joke, but it's.
Having a bald man endorse it is a joke.
Well, it's called. What's it called?
You see, everyone's turned on old Rocky Boy.
Who's Rocky Boy?
Dwayne the Clock Johnson.
Why have they turned on him?
Because he came out and he was like, he said that there was no difference between Trump and Biden, and so he was not going to vote for either this year. And he put out this big public statement or something about how they're exactly the same. And everyone was like, dude, he's like trying to become a fascist and like imprison all his enemies, and this is a very clear false equivalency. And so he's in the middle of like a bad PR spiral where like he's not very well liked on WWE. He's turned back there hoping to have like his old fans embrace him. They did not. He's pissed off a lot of people online because he's saying stuff which is patently false about the presidential election. So he's in a bit of and his movies aren't doing very well. So he's on a bit of a downslide.
He sucks. Isn't he going to run? He was going to run for president, though.
Well,
wasn't
he talked about it, but let's see.
What is his appeal? Honestly, I just don't. He's not. He's a famous guy who I just see him as someone who's just got a really good publicist. I mean, maybe not now, but like someone like the shift between, wrestler known as The Rock to now I'm Dwayne Johnson. I think we were working at the movies when he's
Yeah,
made
that
that
started to
shift.
happen. Yeah.
And everyone's like, shut up, you're The Rock. And then everyone kind of just got on board with it. But like, he's not, I've never liked a movie that he's in. He's not funny. I don't find him charming or anything. He's just a muscly dude. What's his appeal?
The appeal, I think, early on was there was a degree of like an underdog story to him. And then he had a commitment. There was a lack of artifice about him, maybe, where he seemed human or relatable, and he was obviously physically talented, and that sort of transposed into these
Physically
film roles.
talented.
No, I just mean like, well, I mean, yeah, poor phrasing, but
funny.
you know, like
No, that's good for
he was good in like a sport like wrestling, and then when you're watching people on screen, seeing competent people do impressive things is like you want to buy that rather than like watch John Krasinski do like action scenes or whatever. And you're like, having someone who actually looks like he knows how to jump off a building, you buy it more. It's better for the film. So I think people went along for that ride, but then at a certain point, his ego just got so big that it's now quite off-putting. And he got so big physically.
And so did I. Yeah. I just like, I'm not on board with this people who are famous now because of their work ethic. I hate that. I hate like the Mark Wahlbergs, the Kevin comedian,
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart, like these guys that like why do I know that you're a hard worker? I don't want to. I don't give a fuck. Just be like be charismatic. You know.
Yeah.
I like the River Phoenix type. I like the
Richard
Johnny
Kind.
Depp. Okay. Yeah. The
Richard Kind is in the latest season of Girls 5 Ever as a example, like playing himself as someone who deliberately calibrated his level of fame so that he can still walk down the street without being noticed, but is like good enough to get constant jobs without, going hungry. And I think that's the goal, right? Like just to be like successful, but not like crazy famous.
I think we're on our way, Nick.
Yeah.
I think we're very close.
Yeah. Basically, no one comes up to me on the street.
I've not had anyone, and I'm quite grateful for that, to be honest.
Yeah. You know who I do like in terms of wrestlers turned actors? I got a lot of time for John Cena. John Cena, genuinely funny, good comedic timing. Mm-hmm. Still got the physicality and the strength that you need. Good performer. Good commitment.
Totally agree. Like his vibe. Like the cut of his jib.
He's very funny in Peacemaker, and he was very funny at the Oscars.
Yeah, he was naked.
Like that's what I mean by commitment.
You wouldn't see The Rock doing that.
You wouldn't.
And by the way, I'm dead naming him. Dwayne Johnson.
You need to
watch The Rock, buddy.
You need to watch The Gender Agenda. You wouldn't do something like that.
Homework.
There
you go, Nick.
Yeah, that
there
works.
You go.
That works.
There you go, boss.
Thank you. You turned up. You're the hardest worker I know.
Yeah, baby.